listeners are as important as our guests. Join in on the conversation. 504-341-8255, the New Orleans Talk Network.
Hi, I'm Sheriff Joe Lapinto, and you are watching the New Orleans Talk Network.
This is Congressman Cedric Richmond, and you're watching the New Orleans Talk Network.
This is Bishop Samuel Blakes, and you're listening to Real Talk with Mary J.
Thank you to all of my listening audience that are sharing with us all around the world. I hope you're having a happy Merry Monday today. We are having a happy Merry Monday on this beautiful Monday in New Orleans. Listen, you guys, you are definitely in store for a treat because I have an anointed and an appointed man of God that is going to share with us the broken man. That's what we're going to be talking about on today, guys, the broken man. I want you all to go like, follow, and share today because I have the anointed Pastor Glenn Allen in the studio sharing with us today by way of Georgia. Good morning, Pastor. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here.
I am glad to have you. Definitely glad to have you to deal with this subject. Thank God for this precious man of God that is going to share with us the broken man on today. Listen, he is an anointed pastor of the Destiny Christian Center in Fayette, Georgia. Welcome once again on the show this morning. Listen, I am excited because, listen, I know God had dropped you in my spirit, and I was actually, Pastor, on Facebook talking about the broken man, and God dropped you in my spirit, and then you popped up on my feed. And so that, to me, that was confirmation right there. So listen, I'm elated to have you to share with us on the show this morning. Can you tell the people all over Radio Land and all around the world all of the wonderful things that you're doing out there in Georgia?
Well, we are grateful because God has really placed us in a wonderful place here in Fayetteville, Georgia. I'm a native of New Orleans. Of course, I've been here since Katrina, and that's been almost 14 years ago. But God allowed me to start over again. He's a God of new beginnings. Yes, and we had an opportunity to start from the ground floor. And now we are seeing over 400 members here at this location. Of course, we have opened another location in Houston, Texas. And God is just doing some awesome things, and we are planning on doing some other things here. So we have a daily broadcast on Periscope and 2 services here on Sunday morning. A lot of community action, a lot of great things are happening. Right now, we're in the midst of a debt cancellation campaign. We believe in God to cancel all of our debts, and I want to put that in the atmosphere today for all the listeners as well.
In the name of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man of God. You have a location that's out in Houston, Texas as well?
Yes, in Katy, Texas, in one of the suburb areas. One of my sons is pastoring there, the Destiny Christian Center there in Katy, Texas.
That is phenomenal. Yeah. I'm telling you, God is moving and doing some great things. I remember when you were on Facebook at this was several years back, and you were talking about something that was dead on. I was like, I gotta hear this. I'll see you tonight, and you were like, I'm in Georgia. I was like, okay, I don't think I'll make it there tonight. Then
Right.
Yeah, but listen,
there's a plane coming here every hour.
Every hour and get on the plane. But I would have definitely missed the Bible study that night, that particular night. But Pastor, listen, thank you once again, man of God, for coming on the show on today. We're talking about the broken man. You know, there's so many men that are broken that go into their caves and stay and remain. We hear a lot about the broken woman, but we don't hear much about the broken man. So that's our assignment on today, to talk to the people about the broken man and to share information as it relates to the broken man. And God said you were the man for the job. So listen, let's hear about it, Pastor, as it relates to your point of view on the broken man.
Well, there's so many things that men carry, and a lot of people don't really get it, but it's really tough in this world to be a man, where men are really being emasculated, put down, and sometimes by other men. We try to use the stage to elevate women by putting men down, not knowing the head of the family is the man. God has ordained it to be so. So if anything we should be doing is building men. And consequently, what happens is that men are broken inside. You don't see it, but internally they're broken. Externally, they look strong. They look like everything's fine, but inside they're carrying a whole lot. And because of the demand to carry this pressure without an expression of emotions, he's broken, but no one really knows it. Actually, what you have on your hands is a very dangerous individual, because sooner or later, what is imploding in his life will become explosive. And so we have to heal the man who's broken. He's broken because of heartbreak. Women believe that divorce or breakups only affect them from their perspective, but men don't like failure. Most men, when they enter into relationships, they're doing it with the idea of succeeding. So divorce is a mark of failure in his life, and he's broken by that, whether you know it or not. He may not show it, but best believe that his emotions are attached to that moment. Job loss, career changes, the inability to earn income in this day and time can really break a man. He's overwhelmed with responsibility, and people looking to him for answers, and there's no answer. So that's one of the things that can really break a man. Just dreams and hope deferred, things not coming to pass as he's planned, or him not being able to fulfill his obligations. All these things are some of the reasons that men are broken, and they carry it on the inside. What you have most of the time is guys just projecting strength that they really don't possess. And I see it so often, because if you really look at the different dynamics of women, y'all are very expressive. You kind of let other women know when you're hurting. You can go to a beauty shop, you hear women talking about, this guy did this and this happened to me. I was abused, I was hurt. But if you go to a barber shop, you hear a whole different conversation. The conversation is that a man will say all the things he's winning at. He's conquering this, he's achieved this. No man really puts all those things on the table. He's always hiding his failures. Consequently, what happens with that, with the buildup of events that are happening in his life, and this on and on, little bit by little bit, he's crumbling on the inside, to which you really don't understand. You have a man that is weakened and fractionalized because he's not able to express it because of what society says men should be. And a lot of that has been taught early on, that men are not supposed to be weak. They're not supposed to be emotional. Don't allow things to get to you. Don't cry. And if you don't cry, which is a natural emotion or a natural outlet, then sooner or later, something's got to break. And so we have a lot of men who have mental illnesses because they have not been able to really just express themselves. Emotional disturbances, they really need help. And we got to find a way to minister to men who are broken. I use this analogy all the time. We see Humpty
everybody. Welcome to Real Talk with Mary J on NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. I am your host, Mary J. Thank you once again for standing by us to the end. Listen, guys, we're having a happy, merry Monday in the studio, and we're talking about the broken man. It was so powerful, the internet shut down. Listen, our tech guys actually had to go and see if somebody was messing around with the power lines. I believe the devil is mad because Pastor Allen was dead on talking about the broken man and all of the things that the broken man has experienced. Pastor, listen, we're going to pick up right where we left off because that was so anointed, so powerful. You shared something. You said that men enter into relationships. Most of the time, men enter into relationships with the thought of succeeding. And sometimes when those relationships are ruptured, they end up broken. But listen, go back to where you left off because that was so good and I don't want to miss any of that. And I know our audience is standing by and they want to hear more about that broken man that you were talking about.
Well, men like being in a place of success. And of course, men will abandon and abort anything they're not winning in. So you ever see a man starting a project and he's not able to master it, he just leaves it there. You see things being started, like he may build a little house or something, or shed in the back. If he can't complete it, just lets it sit there. Or he leaves old cars in the driveway that he can't get fixed. It just sit there forever. He just walks away from the things he can't succeed at. And so a man is broken by failure sometimes. And I like to use this analogy, the analogy of Humpty Dumpty, who sat on the wall. Now, if you look at where he was sitting in a high place, very dangerous place for someone so fragile. If you look at Humpty Dumpty, he's fragile. He appears to be in a lofty place, but he's a fragile being. And most people don't get it, but men are not as hardcore as you think they are. They have feelings, they have emotions. They are sometimes the temperament of a man can be dealt with just by saying something to him to throw him off course. What you say to a man, most women don't get it, but speaking life into a man is important. But Humpty's sitting on this wall. He has a great fall. Now, when he falls, is all of him is shattered, and no one can put him back together again. None of his peers. They call for all the king's horses, all the king's men.
Right.
Most preachers would use that. All of that was tried, but someone had to call for the king, which is Jesus. I mean, he's the only one that can really, really put you back together again.
That's right.
So what you don't see is men who fail or fall or have faults or flaws. We carry this around. You don't see it that we're shattered, that we're broken, but inside we are, and we don't recover well. Someone has to help us. Unfortunately, again, not many men who take an interest in helping other men. And
Right.
another problem is that men are not open and transparent enough to say they need help. So they remain broken, and then they start breaking other people. You've heard this saying that hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
So the more you break a man, he's broken, he's unhealed, he's not dealt with in his areas. He again starts plaguing other people with this. More than likely, he's going to plague the people that he loves the most.
My God.
His children, his wife, loved ones. He can't express it to no one else, his brokenness. He doesn't know how to articulate it. So he starts hurting people that he's supposed to love, that he's supposed to cherish, because he really can't express it to the people that continuously break him. So that broken man thing is very, very important. And we have to find ways in prayer and of course communication to get men to open up a little bit more. We've been taught to kind of keep it all internalized and keep it all to ourselves, to be introverted as it relates to our feelings. Even as a kid, when I grew up, my father, he didn't allow you to cry. I mean, he sometimes even whip you. You know, boys got whipped back in those days. And
That's right. Yeah.
so what you crying for?
Right. Right.
Right. It was like a sin to cry.
Yeah.
You had to suck it up.
Yeah.
But at some time, a man needs a place to rest. He needs a place to regroup, reset. I mean, even Jesus had to reset because life can become overwhelming. And that word overwhelming is something we overlook. But overwhelming simply means that your head is submerged now. You're beyond the point of survival. The water's over your head, and you're overwhelmed. And sometimes it's too much to swim in. You're tired. You're tired of responsibilities. You're tired of all the demands, and you just give up. And in this day and time, and like never before, I'm seeing not just men of other races, but African American men on the suicide list. They are ready to give up,
Yeah.
and all because their brokenness is going unattended, and no one's paying attention to them. And it's a deadly situation because the fiber of our community, the fiber of the family, not just boys but girls, they need their father's voice. He can't really speak to them
That's
if
right.
he's broken.
That's right.
So we all need father. Even as a man, we need mentors. I use this all the time. What can help men become better men is mentors, but it takes a man to take you on a tour of manhood.
That's
You
good.
cannot, men need to be really expressed. They need to be taught that it's okay to fall. It's okay to fail.
That's right.
You tried something, it didn't work. You tried a relationship, it didn't work. Rejection is okay.
Yes.
Um, Heartbreak is okay. you know, Disappointment is okay. Pick up the pieces uh, and deal with it. I mean, don't let it continue to deal with you. Take it to the Lord. Cast all your cares upon Him, and then start anew. We need to have men understand that you can start over. It's okay that it didn't work and the season is up. Maybe it was a learning curve for you.
That's good.
Maybe it was an experience that you could learn something from. We start businesses. It doesn't work. We are afraid to try anything else. Maybe that was just the groundwork for the next successful thing that you're going to do. But we have to let men know that it's okay to not succeed all the time. Everything is not made to succeed. I started ministry when I was young. I was 25 years old. My
Wow.
first church
Wow.
was a Baptist church. I was the youngest pastor in New Orleans. Didn't do such a great job in
25.
that church. Um, I had a lot of experiences where I had to learn. I was trying things. 25 years old. I was the youngest person in the church. so, so, so I can just tell you right now, there was not a lot of respect given to the pastor. so, um, but it was a learning. It was an on the job training for me.
Yeah.
At that particular time when I didn't do well at that church, I felt like I failed.
Mm.
And then I tried something else in another ministry. And then that was 1980. Oh, wow, 1986. And then God called me to a church in 1993. And I began to succeed. And I think this is where most men can come out of their brokenness, if we can find the little steps that they can take to succeed in. Every man needs to find a place where he can win. And I would
Yes.
advise women, if you know your man is broken, set the stage for him to win at something.
That's so good.
Um, yeah, let him win at something. You don't have to beat him at everything. And don't make an announcement. I'm letting you win. Let him win at something. Make him feel like he's conquering something. Every man
You're
has
right.
that in him that he has a need to conquer. And so when I became a pastor in 1993, I started winning, which gave me courage to start New Life Ministries uptown in 1998, to start over here in Georgia in 2005 after Katrina, and to start other things. But that was a perpetual snowball effect for me to succeed. And a lot of men are broken and they don't know how to get back up because no one's helping them to see that they can win again. So sometimes you just need a stage. I have a 19-year-old son. He'll be 19 next month. Um, school is sometimes a challenge. Right now, I'm just trying to find something for him to win at. But I understand if he's broken now, I don't want his life to be displayed as a broken young man. So
Right.
I'm setting the stage for him to win in certain things
That's good.
and celebrate that. Now, this is another thing I want to say. All men are made in the image and likeness of God. All men. They have three needs, just as God has those needs. God wants to be honored. He wants to be obeyed, but God must be celebrated. The scripture says that God inhabits the praises of his people. That means that God shows up where he's praised. He may not be doing what you want him to do, but you got to praise him. If you want him to show up, and men are just like that. Men may not be able to fulfill all of your needs and wants, but he needs to be celebrated. What happens is, man is just like God. Um, he does a better job when he's celebrated.
Yeah.
He seems to reach down within himself and pull something out he didn't even know he had when he celebrated. So we need to learn how to celebrate men and keep them encouraged so that brokenness can be substituted with something else. We all have something in us that's been broken. I've been through
Yeah.
divorce.
Yes.
I know what
So
that
have
feels
I.
like.
Yes.
I failed at stuff,
So
and
have
I
I.
know what it looks like. But you have to find somebody has to come into your life and say, guess what? Try it again and celebrate your possibilities. So I just believe this is a great platform. And thank you for setting it up so we can really talk about this because so many guys need to know that they can recover from whatever they failed at.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I am so glad, Pastor, that God is using you to bring this forth as it relates to the broken man because so many men, I call them cavemen that will go into their cave and remain. As you said, they don't have anybody that they can really show their vulnerability to expose their weaknesses. But there are so many good men that stay bottled up, stay locked up, and it cannot be reached for the same fact that you just stated is that as a child they were reared saying, big boys don't cry, be a man,
right,
stop
right.
that crying. So now for them to suppress all of that for so many years and then come into their manhood and get with a strong woman, um, and not be able to pull that out of them, and so they isolate themselves and stay in their caves. So what is it? Okay, let's use this for an example because I have two men in mind and I'm going extreme. Okay, I gotta go
Sure.
extreme for for us to be able to reach them and see where we are. I'm reminded of the movie. We'll start with that one. I'm reminded of the movie. I don't know if you saw the movie. It was called 50 Shades of Grey. So
Hmm.
I'm reminded of that movie. I believe that that was a broken man. All right. And I believe that that man was broken because of his past and the things that he's experienced in life. So, but what I
Right,
saw in that movie, Pastor, was a strong woman that refused to bow down to brokenness, even though she had weaknesses, she had weak tendencies, but she cultivated the man. She poured into him. She let him know that, listen, you don't have to stay where you are because of what you've been dealt with in the past. You're not that, okay? You're not that. And so the second part of that movie, they got married. She was able to reach a part of him that no other woman was able to tap into. You see what I'm saying? She was able,
hmm,
and that's what I saw in the movie. So let's talk about that broken man who have either going through some things in his past, and a lot of broken men because we call them in today's world we call them whoremongers, right? That have gone through some hard things as a young man, experiencing sex way too soon, way too early, and that's all he feeds off of. That's all he knows. How can a strong woman reach a broken man of that nature? And I'm talking about
well,
as it relates to her being married to this man.
okay. Well, first of all, when you look at that movie, you find that broken man is not broke. So
Right,
that's the first piece,
exactly,
So
exactly,
so he's able to mask his brokenness
exactly,
a
right,
lot better than most people can.
right,
So he avoids dealing with his brokenness because I mean he has enough money to satisfy some other areas of his
yes,
life. So he keeps camouflaging,
You're right.
covering, and you'll never be healed of what you keep concealing.
That's
So
good.
we this man in this particular movie, he has these idiosyncrasies, these things that are going on, these habits, these secret things that no one would ever imagine. And you'll be surprised at how many people that you see that seem to have it all together because they're financially where they need to be. They are educationally where they need to be, socially where they need to be. They hold high positions. They may own football teams. We're going to
Right.
call any names, but they have these things that they want to do because something's missing. There's a void. There's a void, and a
Exactly.
lot of the void has been there for so long,
Yeah.
and you hid it so long that you don't really own it. You've made excuses and excuses, and now someone comes in. She has to be strong because if she's not strong, and this is the problem, if she's weak, she will be broken and succumb to whatever he's subjected to.
Right.
So
Right.
you see in this movie, she's kind of aiding him out with love.
Yes.
She's not just pulling him out, not being abrasive, but her persuasiveness is not abrasive. She's using her kindness
That's so
to
good.
lead him right on out of
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
she loved him out of it. She showed him
Exactly.
what real love looked like. Because men have these habits. This is why we indulge in things because we've been taught that, from our childhood onward, that sex is love. That's an expression of it. Well, in the marriage, it's one of the avenues that you can take in expressing love, but you got to have something besides that. And when money's on the table, what you see is that you're able to hide these little weaknesses and make them, more, I guess, acceptable.
Yeah.
But you still have to deal with them. And you see, he had a room full of these perverted things,
Right.
but his room was what you could, I think what that room represented was a room that every man has, something that he only lets a small amount of people go into, someone
That's a
he
good
feels he can
point.
trust with it.
That's a good point.
But he's broken. He can't share it with everybody. So he lets this girl in, not thinking she's going to really go with the flow. And she does for a minute. Then she says, "This is not me,"
Right.
and she wins him over and turns the life around with her kindness, her love, which tells you, broken men, if you want to damage him further, address him in a way that's too aggressive, and then he'll repel that.
Yeah.
You got to approach him carefully. He's already wounded. I don't know if you remember the story about a lion who had a thorn in his paw. Everybody in the jungle thought the lion was angry. No, he wasn't angry because he was roaring very loud. He had a thorn. He was in pain. And so it's the difference between anger and pain. It looks like it because the projection is that I'm making a lot of noise and I'm seem like I want to harm somebody. But the truth is, excuse me, that I'm in pain. And a lot of guys are in pain.
Right.
A lot of pain from childhood, a lot of pain even from adulthood. Things have happened. Abuse, molestation,
Yes.
all those things are not just to privy to women. They go across the board. A lot of boys have been taken advantage of as well.
Right. Right. Let's talk about R. Kelly, Pastor. Let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, well, he's a prime example
Mm-hmm.
of. I think we're looking at it, and many people are making excuses for his behavior, and I have two sides of it. The
Right.
first side is um, he's not the first to do this.
Right.
So we have a history of other races
Yes.
who've done the very same thing. So
Yes.
I think him being exposed is because he's a great target to expose. Because I think if he just went on somewhere and sat down, he probably wouldn't be going through this. But he got off before, and just like OJ, continued doing crazy stuff. So just go sit down somewhere, relax yourself, make some
Right.
music.
Right.
Sing some songs that kind of move your life along. But um, his educational background, coupled with the fact that he's getting away with stuff,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the people that are around him are not a great supporting cast.
Mm-hmm.
No one's being honest.
Mm-mm.
No one's telling him what they really see. They're telling him, I guess, to just keep him as um, a sponsor, telling him what he wants to hear.
Right.
So his first fault is his circle.
Right.
His circle. And then when you look at his behavior, it's because of something that happened to him in his past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, brokenness will break. If I'm broken, I'm going to find someone
Mm-hmm. That's
to
broken.
break as well. So
Mm-hmm.
he was broken as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, he went after children.
Mm-hmm.
After children. So um, all evidence points toward him being guilty. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to say.
Right.
We're going to say allegedly he was there doing this stuff. But too many incidents. Um, and this is what happens when a man is broken. He's masking it and he's allowed to get away with it. It becomes his norm. His behavior became his norm
Right.
until it's exposed. And now, we're seeing there's not only is his brokenness of his sexual misbehavior, but his illiteracy is exposed, and everything about him is exposed. It's a perpetual cycle.
It is.
He needed help. I think this is one of the biggest problems with, especially African American society. We don't believe in mental health,
Right.
getting help.
Right.
Uh, we'll go on a diet, lose weight. We'll get something adjusted to make ourselves aesthetically better.
Yes.
We'll look better.
Mm-hmm.
We'll add on, take stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
But internally, we avoid even looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
And we really need to kind of do a better job with that because mental health is a big, big problem.
Right.
And R. Kelly is a prime example of what that looks like.
Yes.
He has a
Exactly.
problem that has
Exactly.
not been dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And so does
most people
so
claim,
does Bill
most,
Cosby. Um,
yes,
and just as you said, different levels. How far does your money take you? Different levels, because see, when Bill Cosby was dealing with the issues, we had so many people that were commented by social media as, oh, they're just doing that because they want money. Oh, this man hasn't done anything, because now they want money and all these women are coming out. So we pacified it because it was Bill Cosby. You see, and we were dealing with grown women. But now we're dealing with R. Kelly, who in turn has violated some young girls.
and
So now,
Michael Jackson.
exactly, exactly. So it's all depends on the level. Exactly, just as you stated. We allow
Yeah,
some things to be so and
but it's
some
happening
things
every day though. It's
every
happening every
day,
day.
every single
These
day.
guys are just the ones you hear about, but almost in every family,
Mm-hmm.
there's a guy like
Exactly.
that
You're right.
who has had, taken advantage of a young cousin or a niece or even daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hear these stories all the time. Um, it's horrific because no one really thinks about the damage. So think about this: you have a child who's 6 or 7 years old
Mm-hmm.
who has to live with this scarlet letter
Right.
for the rest of their lives, and no one really knows about it
Mm-hmm.
but them.
That's
So I
right.
want you to see it.
That's
They're
right.
broken. No one really knows, but
Mm-hmm.
they're so broken that you can see it
Mm-hmm.
because they can't even mask the brokenness. And a lot of it is the parents didn't do what they need to do with this child.
Mm-hmm.
When they experience this type of misbehavior from another person,
Right.
they should have been put somewhere to get some help, and
Right.
not put in an institution, but brought to therapists, a
Right.
psychiatrist, and have them navigate through this. There's a lot of stuff to keeping your psychic all these years bottling up, and then it starts showing in other areas. This is why so many people have these sexual problems because they never got help when they were younger.
Right.
So now they express it in other ways.
Yes.
A girl that was raped now finds herself trying to express love in this kind of way. And guys that get raped do the same thing. They look at sex as a love mechanism, and it's not. You know, they try to get it from anywhere they can. So it's horrific, but it's true.
So true.
We don't look at it. Girls was told not to talk about it because Uncle didn't do that to you,
Right.
and boys were told don't talk about it because it's too embarrassing, and you're gonna be labeled.
Right.
But now he can't talk about it, but he's living it.
Yes.
And he's still talking about it. So he's speaking it just in another way.
In another language.
Yeah, he's broken.
Mm-hmm.
He's broken. So there's so many things as you look at the men today, so many things that are broken us that have been just totally ignored.
Right.
And so you just think about all the guys that that you see day to day, and they even preaching to you. They're
All
preaching.
right, now, sir.
Yeah. We broken guys preaching. I remember years ago when I was going through divorce, I had to preach every Sunday while being broken. And the one thing that helped me, and God bless his soul, he's no longer here, Bishop Eddie Long. I heard him one morning, early in the morning. I knew it was the Lord allowed me to hear his voice. He said, sometimes you got to lead while bleeding. You're leading while bleeding. And that helped me to understand me preaching to those people, my congregation on Sunday, was helping me find my own healing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have answers for everybody,
right,
but ourselves.
Right.
And
right.
I had to turn around and start on Sunday mornings. I told people then, listen, y'all just showing up to hear me preach to me. I'm preaching myself out of a hole.
Yeah.
Of course, that was probably some of my best sermons ever, but
Yeah.
but it got me through. It got me through some rough patches, and because a lot of people walk around. But let's look at that money piece again, because when you have finances, you can hide it quite well. You keep buying stuff to subsidize for something that's missing.
Right.
That's why you find guys, buying new cars all the time. They into the latest and greatest of everything. They got to have it because some other piece of them is not whole.
That's right.
And when you find wholeness, you don't need that many toys to play with anymore.
Right.
Because you're good with yourself.
That's so good. That's so powerful, Pastor. That is so powerful. Listen, we got 5 minutes left on the air, sir. This time went by so quickly. But it's so much substance, you guys. I hope you're getting it. I hope you're making these great deposits, because the man of God is sharing some great wisdom with us on this morning. Pastor, tell some man, speak into the camera to let some man know how do they get out of their cave? Help them out. Help them out.
Well, one thing, you got to come out of your cave by being intentional about it. But the second piece is that you can't give up on yourself, because God hasn't given up on you. Right. When you look at Jeremiah, there's an interesting illustration he uses. He talks about a potter with some clay on the wheel. Now, I want you to hear this, because he finds a crack in this clay that he's molding. It's marred. That's what the Bible calls it, marred. And God says that the potter breaks the clay down. Again, he breaks it because he finds something in it and makes it again. Wow. Which tells you, just because you got a crack doesn't mean that it's over. When you look at this, the potter never takes his hands off of the clay. With his faults, with his flaws, with all the stuff he finds is marred. He keeps the clay in his hands, and he breaks it, but then he remakes it. And God specializes in. So if you are broken, you've been in this dark place, you don't know how to come out of it, just encourage yourself and know this, that God that's not giving up on you. Uh, his hands are still on your life. You just went through a little rough place. So don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Don't surrender. Just know that God still has a plan. His plan is the same plan he had from the beginning. It has not changed.
That's right.
Uh, that's to prosper you and to bring you to an expected end. So sometimes you just need to know it's not over, man. I made a mistake. I failed, but God's hand is still there, molding and shaping me. And some of those failures are necessary. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Some of those steps involve stumblings,
Mm.
staggerings, and stops. But keep stepping. That's all I can tell you. Keep it moving. Don't stop here, man, because there's so much more ahead of you, um, much more than what you can imagine. So that's my encouragement to men. Just don't give up where you are. Don't be weary in well doing, but in due season, you should reap if you faint not. Don't quit. Don't quit. Just keep it moving.
Awesome, 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 Pastor. Thank you for sharing so much with us on this morning. I know we have maybe 2 minutes left on the air, and I need to put this in there really, really quickly. Let us as women that have experienced broken men or that may be married to a broken man, what is it that we can do or say to help that man during that process? Because I know you
Well,
talked about, sometimes we get ahead, sometimes we're not tender with it. So what is it that we can do as women?
well, if you really pay attention, as a boy, the most influential voice in a boy's life is his mother's voice. And then as he gets older, it's a girlfriend's voice. Older, it's a wife's voice. Then it becomes his daughter's voice. It's always a woman's voice. Your femininity is something a man cannot resist. Your voice, what you say to him, is so powerful. Speaking to him, look at Adam. Adam ate a food he knew he wasn't supposed to eat because his woman told him it was okay. And so when a woman tells you something, she tells you that you can make it, you can recover, and you can bounce back. When she believes in that man,
Yes,
that speaks volumes to him.
that's so true.
If you could just say something to him to encourage him, speak life to him, he'll find himself back out there doing what he thought he could never do again, just by what his woman said to him. So I would encourage every woman, don't be solid and watch him
Hmm.
struggle. Speak to him. You're the biggest cheerleader he has, and if you believe in him, he'll do it.
Yeah,
He'll do it.
definitely, definitely.
That's it. So
This is so, so good. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Pastor Allen. Will you let the people all over Radio Land and all around the world know how that they can connect with you via social media as well as your website? Can you give them your information?
my website is www.destinycci.org, and we're here in Fayetteville, Georgia. I'm on Periscope Monday through Friday, and you can look for me, Glenn B. Allen 1. Um, I'm there on Periscope. Just log on and find me there. And I'm right here. You can call the office. And I know that's an old way of doing things, but we still have an office phone, 770-719-8522. We're here Monday through Friday as well.
All
So
right.
God
Thank you
bless.
so
Yeah.
much. Thank you so much. And there are an hour flights going out every hour, right, Pastor, to Georgia?
This is a hub. Atlanta's a hub. You can get here from anywhere in an hour.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
you will be ordained as bishop, installed as
Con-
bishop coming up
yeah.
soon.
Consecrated this year.
Yes,
Bishop, yes.
consecrated
Yeah.
as bishop. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to that as well,
I'm
sir.
excited.
I've been calling you
Excited about
bishop
it.
the whole time anyway.
Yes,
Anyway.
you've been prophesying that. It's come to pass.
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Sir, did you
Praise
have
the
a
Lord.
happy Mary Monday this morning?
I'm excited. It's been awesome.
It
And I
has been. It
thank you
has
for allowing
been.
me to come on and share.
Thank
Yes.
you for coming on. I am honored to have you, man of God, to share with us. You guys, we're out of time. Listen, but I hope you're having a happy, merry Monday all over Radio Land, social media land. Welcome to Real Talk with Mary J on NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. You can follow us on all of our social media network sites. Please go follow Pastor Glenn Allen of Georgia. Listen, I want you all to follow him on Periscope and go and follow him, share, and like his page. He has some awesome quotes. I'm posting one of your quotes I just saw the other day. It's going to be on my Wife Life page tonight. All right?
Okay.
Thank you all for sharing with us. Happy Merry Monday, everybody. I hope you had a great day. Thank you, Pastor Allen, for coming on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.